Okay, this is section 2.2. This is over budgeting. Now let's start off with our prep skills, and we're going to do this together. Okay, so number one says, what percent of 100 is 40? Okay, well, percent is a number over 100. So 20% would be 20 over 100. 35% would be 35 over 100. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to say P, oops, we're going to say P over 100, okay, because I don't know what the top number is, but I know that the bottom number, because of percent, that has to be 100. So what percent of means to multiply. 100 is the equal sign 40. All right. So there's our equation. Now we're going to solve this. So let me copy and paste. So I know that this and this are going to reduce. And so the only thing that I'm left with is P will equal 40. So what percent of 100 is 40? Well, I'm looking for the percent, P over 100. So that means that my percent is going to be 40%, because I'm P over 100. That's what I'm looking for. So it's just going to be 40%. All right. Let me shrink this down. Okay. Now the same thing here. What percent of 12 is 15? Okay. So we're going to do the same thing here. So what percent? So that's P over 100 of 12 means to multiply, of 12, not 21, is 15. Okay. So now this one isn't so nice, right? Okay, well, let's take this step by step. So what I can do is combine the 12 over 100. So this would be P times 12 over 100 equals 15. Okay, now when I do this, well, 12 over 100, anytime you have a fraction over 100, notice you have two zeros, which means you need two decimal places. So 12 over 100 is going to be the same thing as 0.12, because two decimal places, tenths, hundredths, okay? That gives you two decimal places. So I'm going to rewrite this as 0.12p equals 15. Okay, this font is, I don't know why the font is like really out of whack, but I'll change this before I post the solutions. Okay, so now we're going to take this equation and I'm going to divide this by, well, I'm going to divide this by 0.12. Oops. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to the other. Okay, so now on the left, we're left with P. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide 15 by 12. So that's 1.25. Okay. So that's the P. So 1.25 over 100. So that means that my percentage is going to be 1.25%. Okay. Now, let's see. Let me back this up. Okay. All right. So that one took a little bit of thinking to work through. Okay. Now, also notice over here, another way that we can, well, let me go ahead and let's finish this and then I'll explain another way to do this. And you might like this way better, that second way better, but let's look at this. Okay, so I'll let you do number 3, which is the same as 1 and 2. All right, number 4, what is 30% of 100? Okay, well, the what is going to be our variable. So what is 30%? So that's 0.30 of means to multiply 100. So all I have to do is multiply 0.30 times 100. Well, if I multiply by 100, then all that means is I move the decimal. I'm making this number bigger because I'm multiplying it by 100. So I move it 2 places over because of the 100 has 2 zeros. Okay, so X equals 30. So 30 is 30% of 100. All right. All right. Now let's look at number 6. What is 85% of 1200? Well, we're going to do the same thing. What is 85%? So that's 0.85 of means to multiply 1200. So all I have to do is multiply these two numbers together. So 0.85 times 1200, and I got 1020. Okay. All right. And then I'll let you do number 6 on your own. Same thing. Okay. Now 7 and 8. If an amount of $500 is increased by 15%, what is the new amount? So this is going to be a 2-step process. So first we need to find the amount of increase. All right. Well, what's nice about this is that, and this is not a percent increase or a percent decrease because they've already given us the percent. Okay. So I want to know, what is the increase going to be? So 500 is increased by 15%. So I'm looking for 15% of 500. Excuse me. So that's going to be 0.15. Of means to multiply. Come on. Of means to multiply 500. Okay. And so 0.15 times 500 is going to be 75. And we're looking at $75. Okay. So that's the amount of increase. Now, the new amount, the way we find the new amount is we take the original amount, and we add the amount of increase. Okay. All right. So new amount. So this is going to be our original amount, which was $500, plus our increase amount, which is $75. So that means that our new amount is going to be $575. Right? Okay. And then I'll let you do number 8 on your own, and let's see how you do with that. Okay, so these will be posted in the filled-in notes after we're done. Okay, learning objectives. We're going to calculate take-home pay and monthly expenses. We're going to identify necessary expenses and luxuries. We're going to prepare a monthly budget and then prorate long-term expenses to save in advance for them. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at, let me move this down, is we're going to calculate our annual pay. Okay, so it says Charlie works full-time as an executive assistant, and he has a check for $1,323.13 direct deposited into his checking account every other Friday. How much money does Charlie make per year? Okay, well, it depends on how you think about this. So if you think about that Fridays occur twice a month, then that would be 24 times per year. Okay. So if we do that, okay, so let me do this, every other Friday implies twice a month. All right, so if I do that, then that means we're going to take the 1323.13 and we're going to multiply this let me see. And I meant to do this. It implies twice a month, which means 24 times per year. Then if you think this, then we are going to multiply this by 24. Why is it doing this? This makes me mad. Okay, so we're going to take the 1323 and 13 cents times 24. So this is going to give us $31,755.12. Okay. Now, that's one way to do it. Okay. But that is a little low because 4 weeks isn't quite a full month. There are some months that are going to have more than more than 4 Fridays. Okay, so it would be more accurate if we estimate a year at 52 weeks. Okay, so I'm going to say over here, too low. Okay, we want to get as close as possible. So better to estimate by the number of, see, how do I want to say this? By the number of bi-weekly checks. This means that there are 52 weeks in a year. So there would be 26 biweekly pay periods. Okay. Now, if that's the case, all right. So if this is the case, then what this means is that we would take this amount and change this to 26 times. Okay. And then calculate this. So 13.23 and 13 cents times 26. And this is going to give us, 34,401 and 38 cents. Okay. So that's a big difference. Okay. So this is quite a bit more. Let's see. How about I do this? And let me pull that over. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm still not close enough. Okay. So the other and the probably better way is, and the most accurate result would be to break down the paycheck by daily amount. So if he gets better to break down by daily amount. Okay. So what I'm saying here, guys, is if he makes 13.23 and 13 cents for every pay period, that's every 14 days, 2 weeks. Okay. Then if I divide that, so let me do this. So 1323.13. If we divide that by 14, because it's every 2 weeks, then this is going to give us $94.51 per day. Okay. Now, since there are 365 days in a year, what we can do is take this 94.51 and multiply it oh wait. Oh my, I'm gonna go crazy. Okay, so I would take this 94.51 and multiply it by the 365 days. Okay, right, so 94.51 times 365. I subtracted 94.51 times 365. Then that gives us $34,496.15. And that's how much he would be making per year. So if we break it down as small as you can, then you're going to get a truer answer. Okay. So you have to think about these things. All right. Now, most people can tell you their hourly wage or salary, but because of deductions for taxes, insurance, retirement, a lot of people don't know how much money is actually left for them to spend. So when you get a paycheck, your gross pay is the amount of money that you have earned before deductions. Okay. Your take home pay is what's left after the deductions have been taken out of your paycheck. Since many common expenses occur on monthly cycles, it's useful to know exactly how much money you bring home per month. Okay, so calculate the take home pay. If a worker is paid a salary of $47,400 per year and is in a tax bracket that results in 27% deduction, what is her monthly take home pay? Okay, so first I need to find 27% of the 47,400. Okay, so this is going to be the deductions. Okay, so let's do this. All right, so we're going to take, whoops, so we've got 0.27 times the 47,400, and that's going to equal 0.27 times 47,400. That's going to equal $12,798. Now, remember, this is how much she makes in a year, the 47,400. That's why this amount is so big. Okay, so we're going to find the deduction. Okay, let me remove this. So our deductions is going to be this. Now, I need to know what is her take-home pay. So the take-home pay is going to be her salary minus the deductions. Take-home pay. Okay, so all we have to do is plug this in. So the take-home pay is going to be the salary, which is 47,400, minus the deductions, which was 12,798. Okay, so let's crunch this out. 47,400 minus the 12,798. And we're going to get a total of $34,602. Whoops. $34,602. That's her take-home pay per year. Okay, and again, where did this go? So this phrase is important. Okay. So I don't want you to think this is how much she's bringing home every month. That would be great. But this is what she would be bringing home every year. Okay, so it's her salary minus the deductions. And the way you find the deductions is you take the percentage of your salary. Okay. All right. Now, example 4. Hang on a second. Oh, there it is. Okay. So example 4. Where did I get example 4 from? Okay. So for the fiscal year 2019, the president submitted a budget to Congress requesting $4.1 trillion to be spent by the government. With that amount, $363 billion went towards interest on the national debt. This is what happens when I dictate. Okay. What percent of the budget went to that one expense? A trillion is 1,000 billion, by the way. Okay. And because with that amount, 363 billion went towards the national debt. So we're going to have to turn this 4.1 trillion into billion. Okay. All right. So first thing is, let's go ahead and say 4.41 trillion is going to be, now remember, it said a trillion is 1,000 billion. So this is going to be 4,410 billion dollars. So $4.41 trillion is 4,410 billion dollars. Okay, so now that I have billions, what percent of the budget went to that one expense? So 363 billion went towards the interest on the national debt. Okay, so now we're going to find what the percentage is. So that's going to be the 363 billion divided by 4,410. And I know this is going to be an approximation, so we're going to number crunch this. So 363 divided by 4,410. And this gives me, let me put equal sign. This gives 0.0823129,252 ... Okay. Well, I don't want that because I want a percent. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to approximate that amount. Okay. All right. So approximately. Now I'm going to round this to the nearest tenth of a percent. So that puts this at 8.23, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So if I want the tenth of a percent, then the 0.2 is in the tenths place. So I have to look one past, and that 3 is not big enough to bump the 2 up. So this is going to be approximately 8.2%. So 8.2% went towards the budget. Okay, not very good, right? All right. Let me highlight this. That's the answer. All right. Now, budgeting your money. And let me go ahead and just move this down. Okay. So it says, my friend Charles noticed that one of his students came to class every day with 2 cups of coffee from a well-known coffee chain that isn't exactly famous for their low prices. He asked her if she'd ever thought about how much she spent on that coffee over the course of a year. Not surprisingly, she had not. If she paid $3.25 per cup of coffee, per cup for that coffee every day, how much would she spend on the coffee in a year? Now remember, she comes in with 2 cups of coffee, right? Okay, so we're going to take 2 times the $3.25, and that's going to give us $6.50 per day. So every day she spends $6.50 for the cup of coffee. Now they want to know, how much is she going to spend per year? Well, if she spends $6.50 every day for a year, and a year is 365 days, we're going to multiply that by 365. We're going to number crunch. So 6.50 times 365, whoops, 6.50 times 365 Man, so that's going to be $2,372.50 per year. And that's what they wanted to know. How much does she spend per year? Okay, that's kind of crazy. Well, I'm not going to say that's crazy because we all have vices and that are important to us. Okay, so how much would our coffee drinking friend save over the course of the year if she settled for the convenience store coffee at 79 cents per cup? So we do the exact same thing. So we're going to take two. Actually, let me just copy this and then I'll change the numbers because it's easier. Okay. All right. So 2 cups of coffee at 79 cents per cup. That's going to be $1.58 per day. Okay. Now, if she does this, $1.58 for 365 days, that's going to cost her. Let me change this to black because this is not going to be my answer. Then she's going to spend $576.70 per year. Okay. Now, they want the comparison between the two. So, how much would she save? So, the savings is going to be the difference. So, that's going to be 2372.50 minus the 576.70 equals, okay, 2372.50 minus 576.70. And that's going to be a difference of 17, no, $1,795.80. So this is how much she would save. Oh, come on. There. And that's quite a bit. Okay. But like I said, we all have vices. So sometimes this one is worth it. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get into budgeting. Luxuries are things you can live without. However, people forget they have to pay for necessary expenses only to find out they don't have enough money because they already spent it on their luxury items. These are the basic things that you have to pay for. So, necessary expenses are talking about the things you have to pay for: food, shelter, insurance, transportation, clothing, utilities, student loan payments, and so on. Some of those are fixed, meaning the amount that you spend on each month is consistent. So like student loan payments, those are pretty much fixed. Those aren't going to change. Okay. Um, your shelter, if you if you're renting, well, that's going to be pretty much fixed unless they go up on their rent, but at least for a year, it would be fixed. Your insurance is usually fixed. Okay. So that's what that means. Housing, insurance, utility loans, and transportation usually fall into these categories. Other necessary expenses are variable, meaning they can change from month to month, like food and clothing. Okay. All right. So it says Tremaine brings home $2,746.79 per month and has fixed expenses shown in the table. How much can he afford to spend on food, clothing, and luxuries? All right. So if these are fixed expenses, and let's go ahead and put this up here. So these are fixed expenses. That's what they told us. Okay. Then what I want to do, let me see. I'm trying to, what's to do with this? Oh, well. Okay. So what we're going to have to do, oh, let me move this over here. Okay. All right. This is better. All right. So what we have to do first is find the amount of fixed expenses. So amount of fixed expenses. All right. So we're just going to total all this up. Okay. So I'm just going to use my calculator, not my phone, my calculator. So 675 plus 299.23 plus 79.50 plus 110 plus $97.50 plus 175 plus 211.53. Okay, so that gives me a total of $1,647.76. Okay. Now the question is, how much can he afford on food, clothing, and luxuries? So his take-home pay. So how much? Let me just put luxuries. No, how much for luxury items? I can type. All right, so the way we're going to do this is we take what he brings home, so 2746.79 minus the 1647.76. So I'm going to subtract 2746.79 minus 1647.76. So we're going to end up with, or Tremaine's going to end up with $1,099.03. So he can afford this much on food, clothes, and luxuries. Okay, that's how that works. Now, Tremaine goes out for happy hour drinks and dinners with friends every Friday and usually spends about $50. On average, what percent of his budget after the fixed expenses is eaten up by the happy hour? Okay, so if he spends every Friday, he usually spends about $50. Okay, all right. So now, what do you think we're going to do with this? Now, this one's kind of tricky because it didn't tell you, just says he goes out every Friday, but it didn't say per month, per year, whatever. Okay. So we have to go back to 6A. We were looking at his monthly expenses. So his luxury amount is $1,099.03 per month. So what we need to make a statement here that says something like he spends $50 every Friday. So that is approximately $200 per month on happy hour drinks and dinners with friends. Now they want to know on average what percent of his budget after fixed expenses. So this is the fixed expenses, but after you do that, this is the amount, the 1,099.03. What percent is eaten up by these happy hours? Okay. So what we're going to do is we've done this before. So we're going to take the 200 and we're going to divide it by the 1,099.03. And this can give us approximation. So 200 divided by 1,099.03. They want the percentage. So let me go ahead and do the equals. So I got 0.1819786539 ... Okay, but I want the percentage. 0 point. Okay, not comma point. Okay, so I move it two places over. So that's 18.19 blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the one, I have to look past, the 9 is going to bump that up. So that means this is going to be approximately 18.2%. Wow, I think that's kind of a lot. Okay, and this is your answer. All right. Now we found in example 6B, we found a percentage. What expenses would you be willing to spend that percentage of your income on? And that is a personal, answers can vary here. So you would have $899 left. So you can fill this in. That's up to you. Okay. All right. 60. Tremaine just got a 4% raise. I don't know where the U came from. Got a 4% raise, period. How much more money does that leave him for variable expenses per month? Okay, well, if he got a 4% raise, that's 0.04. Let me put this into, so 0.04. And then we are going to multiply that by what his salary is. His salary is 2646.79. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was 2746.79. And when we number crunch this, you should end up with 109.87. And this leaves him with that's going to leave him with that much more money for the variable expenses. Okay. So that's not fixed because we already took the amount out of the fixed. So this is the luxury. Okay. All right, guys. Now the rest that's on here just explains details about the project, but we will go over this in class. Okay. So that's all that I have for you for section 2.2. If you have any questions, let me know.